Hey, it's Pastor Jay. I'm glad to have you back for week 2 of our section connection training. Today we're going to be talking about the connection part of it and how to integrate this. Remember that our goal is going to be to begin to integrate this this weekend. As you're here, just connect with people. Strive to be a few minutes early. Jump in, connect with them. So we're just gonna go through these things here and ways to connect with people. There's often the first thing here is there's often miscommunications about connection. Um, a connection is more than a wave across the room. It's more than an email. It's more than a Facebook comment. It's also not necessarily going to mean that you're going to become best friends with this person, but our goal is to make connections, to walk up, to connect, to shake hands, to greet people, and let them know we're here, and let them know that we know they're here, and that's important in this section connection. The second thing that is of importance is how do we engage these people. We talked about it a little bit last week, but it's important to greet them in the first 90 seconds of them entering your section. This is huge. Introduce yourself to them and say hello. Let them know that we know they are here. Connections happen from every point of a church. When people pull into the parking lot, to when they walk into the door, when they drop their kids off, when they walk into the auditorium, when they're getting ready to leave, and as they leave the parking lot. And so we are striving on our end with this section connection to connect with them as they hit the auditorium. They get a program and they come in for the gathering and they sit down and they get up and they leave and someone says goodbye, but we want to catch them in between that time, right when they come in. Connect with them, introduce yourself. As I said, the second thing, ask questions that stick. This can be a challenging. We don't, hey, how you doing? That doesn't cut it, because good, I'm fine, and the conversation dies. So we're going to strive to ask this question here that you see. Number one, what brought you to Dayspring? Ask what brought you to Dayspring, and this opens the door for them to give you an answer that doesn't die. After that, if you don't know, I mean, this is on here, and you're probably gonna be like, "What is this?" A great question that gets conversations started. Do you like plain or peanut M&Ms? Maybe people don't like M&Ms, but it gets a conversation started. That leads to more questions. Oftentimes, we're, hey, how you doing? Good. How are you? In passing, we want to avoid that, and we want to go to those next steps, and build relationships with people, connect with them. Another thing is listen to the response and ask key questions that follow up to that. If they've talked about their kids, if they've talked about living in the area, if they've talked about moving to the area, ask questions based off of those things that they say. A lot of times when we communicate with people, we're thinking about what we're going to say next, and we need to take the time to truly listen to what people are saying to us. So let's strive to do that. The other thing is, the second thing is underneath how to engage people is to read the person. What is their posture when they walk in the first 5 seconds of you making eye contact with them? You're going to be able to tell their attitude. Are they walking with their head up? Are they excited to be there? Are they walking with their head down, discouraged? They're glad they're here, but there's something going on heavy in their lives. And these are things that we need to be able to read. Make eye contact. It's huge. Connect with them. Allow them to see that they're there. It's important. Third thing, take notes of key clues that clue you into who the person is, later on. Their name, what they do, a situation that they've just shared with you. Write this information down so that you have it next time. I shared about having a notepad or your iPad or your phone. Don't do it right there in front of them, but strive to, if you struggle with names, as I do, focus on the names the first time you meet them. Focus on the names, because when they come back and you remember their name, they are going to light up. They're going to light up just knowing the fact that you remembered their names. So these are some things, to take into account. Properly disengaging is always awkward. And how do we disengage? Say it was nice to meet you. If you have any further questions, let me know. If someone is hard to engage with and they don't engage well, just say sorry to bother you. Don't push them. Kind of leave it alone, and let others know as your sections grow, and you come in contact with those people. You let other people know in your section. Hey, this person didn't necessarily engage with me, but they may engage with someone else. So don't feel frustrated and don't feel defeated in those moments. The third part here is the house rules. Things to avoid, things to do, things of that nature. Avoid the hot button topics. We're not here to talk politics. We're not here to talk about what's going on in the news. We don't want to debate with people whether they believe, police should do this or police should do that. Stay away from that stuff. Don't play into the bait and switch debates. This kind of goes along with those hot button issues. There are going to be people who come in here who they don't see, they don't understand, and the vision of Dayspring is not for them. Don't engage in back and forth right there, right in the gathering, in the auditorium with people. Just disengage and move on. Respect personal space. We don't necessarily want to hug somebody the first time we meet them. Not everybody's a hugger. Not everybody's necessarily a handshaker. So kind of try to read that person. All joking aside, keep some chewing gum with you, some breath mints. I don't want to necessarily know that you had onions in your omelet this morning. So be aware of those things. Read through the program before the gathering so that you know of upcoming events, so that you have a grasp of some of the things that are going to be going on. And the last part of this is the win, and to remember to make connections and build relationships with guests is very important. Help make fully devoted followers of Christ, and that's what we're striving to do. The key to making connections is to share other people's stories. If you look at Acts chapter 9, where Saul becomes Paul, and he is living his life, and he's on fire for Christ, and in the first few weeks, few months of doing this, he jumps right into ministry, and he wants to meet the disciples. He goes to them and tells them this, and they're like, no, he wants to engage, he wants to connect, and they're like, no, and finally he gets that opportunity, and it's connection. And I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but this is huge. If Paul doesn't have the opportunity to connect with disciples, the church doesn't grow. Corinthians isn't written, Titus isn't written, churches aren't formed. A lot hangs on connection, and a lot takes connection is huge. And so looking at this and seeing that, yes, he did eventually get this opportunity is huge for us. This is where my heart is, and where we're at for Dayspring, is to make those connections, because we don't know who that next person is that's going to come in to be able to do some awesome, great things to take Dayspring to those next levels. If someone wouldn't have made a connection with you, you wouldn't be here watching this, helping us take Dayspring to that next step. Connections are huge. And this connection with Paul, being able to connect with the disciples, is huge. And so us being able to connect with people, to plug them in, is huge for us. This allows us to grow as a church, grow forward, to grow connections. When we do this, when we connect, when we make connections, it gives us an opportunity to share other people's stories. My youth pastor, I remember at times in my life when he connected me with some great leaders and some great people. Had he not connected me with certain people, I would never have the opportunity. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be doing ministry this way. I don't even know if I would be doing ministry, but he saw something in me, and he connected me with people and said, hey, this is Jason, and he's doing this in his life, blah, 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 blah. When we hear and know people's stories, it gives us the opportunity to connect them with other people, and we hear their stories, and connections are made, and relationships are built. And because of my youth pastor, he said things about me that I would never say about myself, and he saw insights and things in me. And we build people up, and we make those connections with people. When we do this, when we say things about people that they can't say about themselves, it builds connections with others. and an instant bond is made. When we know someone's story, when we know two people's stories and where they've come from, and that they could connect, and we bring them together, it's awesome, and it's a great thing. And when this happens, when stories are told, leaders can back off and allow connections to grow through others. And that is our goal, is to make connections. We're not going to connect with everybody. I'm not going to relate with every person that walks through the door. But if I'm building relationships and connecting with people, I can connect new people with people who have a story like they do, and they can bond, and we can grow Dayspring to that next level, and that is our goal. I hope that you've enjoyed our time today. Please, this weekend, begin to take some of these steps and pour them out. As you come to your gathering, as you're in the auditorium, begin to do some of these things. Build relationships, connect with people. It's huge and it's important. If you have any other questions at all, please feel free to email me at jb@dayspringchurch.com. There's a thing here at the bottom, and with my email address. So just email me if you have any questions, concerns of that nature. I thank you again for joining us for our Section Connection number 2 on Connect, and enjoy your weekend, and we hope to see you here, and I'll see you back next week for our Section Connection Part 3.